I'd never have to see the day again. That's right. Sing!
I never have to see the day again.
Encore, Annie! No! I am way too drunk to be singing in front of people.
Hello, sir. How are you today? Genuinely, how are you doing today?
I'm really good. I'm so happy we have our premiere tonight, and I'm really excited and happy to finally be releasing our movie.
I'm happy that you're releasing it too, because I love this movie. I'm a little bit mad at you for like the emotions that I felt because of this movie. This was really kind of an emotional wallop, but it was an excellent, excellent film. I know you're going to get asked about this a ton. I got to ask about it anyway. You've got Morgan Freeman, the Morgan Freeman, doing a voiceover of your words. How do you describe that feeling? Like when you're sitting in an edit bay and you're putting together the final cut of A Good Person, you've got Morgan Freeman narrating words that you wrote. Like what is that feeling?
I'll tell you a funny story about that. When you wrap the movie, before you go into the edit bay, you get what's called a scratch track, which, because you know you're going to need the voiceover to edit with, but you assume that later when you're finally done, he's going to go into a voiceover booth and get it perfectly. But I said to Morgan on his last day, we need a scratch track for editing, so I need you to record all these voiceovers. And he said, when I did this on Shawshank, they kept the scratch track. I went back in the voiceover booth and did it, and it wasn't as good as the scratch track, so he kept it. And I remembered that. And then the same exact thing happened when we were cutting this movie. You've so fallen in love with the exact reading that he did. And also, I should mention, the actor is so in the zone of the character at that spot that when if you come back to them months later and say, oh, now do the voiceover, they aren't in the same space, a mindset of the character. So it's just interesting that the exact same thing. And in fact, I didn't even try and do them later. I was like, I'm so in love with his intonation with this quote unquote scratch track that that's what I used for the whole movie.
I love how that starts out. When I did this on Shawshank, that's just a very Morgan Freeman.
Oh, I had so many amazing, I've been so lucky in my life to work with some of these legends. I just directed Harrison Ford, and I'm such a movie geek, and I get all these incredible anecdotes. I have so many great Morgan Shawshank anecdotes.
Okay, another time, Zach, we'll have to have just a whole conversation about that someday. But I mean, among the many cool things of A Good Person, you've got him, narrating the words that you wrote, but also like there's a lot of cool moments in A Good Person. You get to stage a fight between Florence Pugh and Molly Shannon, and you get to have a whole like fuckboy exchange between Morgan Freeman and his neighbor, and you've got Florence singing. So for you, like, what is the thing that like when you watch this back, you're like, man, like we got to do that? Really? That's amazing. What's that moment?
I mean, all of it. This was my dream. I mean, I never thought I'd get Morgan. I mean, I knew I was writing it for Florence. So I had a pretty good sense I'd get her. But I always imagined it would be her opposite some older genius legend. But I never pictured I could get Morgan Freeman. I just, Morgan doesn't do a lot of indies, and we didn't have financing even at the time when I was approaching him. So he certainly doesn't attach himself to movies that aren't financed. That's not in his modus operandi. So I just didn't really consider it a possibility. But we had worked together before, so I knew him. And I sent him the script thinking, oh gosh, I'm going to wait 2 weeks. And the next day he called me, and Florence held up the phone because it just said Morgan Freeman across my iPhone. And I answered it, and he didn't even say hello. He just said, I see myself on every page of this script. And I was like, does that mean yes? And he was like, yes, that means yes.
That's a good thing, right? That means we're okay, great. Well, so then talk to me about, I'm so curious about how this went down on set, because you're directing Florence Pugh, who is one of the hottest young actresses working right now. She's incredible, young, and already a master at her craft. And then obviously Morgan Freeman being the legend that he is. So then for you directing, what is that vibe on set? Like, what are the conversations that the three of you can have? And when you're putting the scenes together, like how did an average day look, directing the two of them?
Well, very fast, because we shot the movie in 26 days. So it's a sprint. And so you just have to go for it. You just dive in. And I'm an actor's director, and for me that means that everything's a conversation. I'm by no means a dictator. It's a very collaborative art form. So I'm like a conductor of an orchestra, and they're like the best violinist and cellist in the world, right? So I'm not ever saying like play the violin better. I'm saying like, do you think maybe you should play louder here for this reason, because I have to look at the whole movie. I have to be looking at the macro. We shoot totally out of order, and a great actor and actress will just disappear into the moment of the scene. And it's my job to go, hey, because this scene comes after that scene, should we try one where we're more X, Y, or Z? That's kind of how I think of it, because it's all a collaboration. You have these wonderful talents, and you want to use their minds and have them be involved in the conversation.
Of course. Well, one thing I'm also curious on, because obviously this movie does have its levity, but it is a very serious subject matter. There's a lot. I mean, again, I felt so many feelings watching this movie. So I know that this was a personal story for you. It's how you, kind of coped with loss during the pandemic and whatnot, and obviously the subject matter. So how do you look out for not only your mental health on set, but also Florence's mental health, because she's got moments where she's staring in a mirror and just trash talking herself, and more like it's a tense, it's an emotionally fraught kind of film. So how do you look out for mental health in kind of a scenario like that?
Well, you have to obviously be the parent of the set. That is to say, you're looking out for everyone's mental health and safety and making sure everyone's okay. Florence has just an uncanny ability, unlike anyone. I mean, Natalie Portman had this as well, I have to say, but just an insane ability to just drop into a scene on action and just be present. And then you call cut, and they almost need to break character. They almost need to joke around with the crew. Some actors, obviously, as we know, are completely opposite. They want to stay in the zone of the scene the whole day, and neither is right or wrong. But I would just say, as a testament to Florence, that she just has a way, almost like jumping into a hypnotic state of going to such a dark, deep, authentic place, and then kind of popping out of it and turning to the grips and asking, what was the score of the game or something like that. She's so, I mean, I've never seen anything like it, to be honest.
She's incredible. The movie's incredible. Zach, I will leave you with this. I want to go back to Florence because she sings in this movie, and it's a beautiful way to start the film. From what I understand, she wrote that song. So please, tell me you're going to be a hero to the world, and there's going to be a recording or studio version of this that will be released.
There is. Well, the song she sings at the beginning is a Velvet Underground cover, but there's
yes.
2 songs at the end that she wrote herself in character, and they will be released online on Spotify and Apple. And we're putting the whole soundtrack out on vinyl, and those tracks will be on vinyl as well.
You bring me such joy, Zach. That is my time. Thank you so much for talking to me today. I really appreciate it. It's a great film, man. Congrats.
Thank you so much.